Hey everyone, me Kevin here. In this video, we will review the state of stimulus as of October 24th. We will know exactly where we stand with Democrats and Republicans, how close the next stimulus bill is, and what is keeping the individual sides apart from making a deal. We'll also talk about what's going to happen once the election occurs, and we'll go through some different scenarios to try to understand what the heck is coming regarding stimulus. Let's go ahead and pull up the flowchart, which will swiftly go through this flowchart. This will give us some really good insights into what the heck is going on. But first, I do want to mention that you should get your 3 free stocks worth up to $1,600 via the links down below with Webull. Deposit $100, get 3 free stocks, and of course, get your life insurance in as little as 5 minutes via the link down below as well. So the Federal Reserve, these are quotes from Friday and Saturday. The Federal Reserve, we've heard them many times pressure Congress for more fiscal support, aka more stimulus. However, they say that not even just no stimulus, just even delayed stimulus. So if we have delayed stimulus, we will see a very slow recovery over the next decade. That's because the Federal Reserve is worried about recessionary dynamics setting in, which those are things like, all right, well, now airlines laid everybody off or laid a bunch of people off. Well, now those people are jobless and they don't get all the benefits, so spending goes down. And then who gets laid off after that? The handy people that those people would have ordinarily hired for their house, maybe, and then they don't have more money. So those issues become long-run sandbags to the growth in our economy. So the Fed's very concerned. John Thune, the number 2 Republican in the Senate, actually believes that once the election is over, that we'll be in a better position for legislating or coming up with a stimulus bill. Nancy Pelosi says, quote, "We want this to be a bipartisan bill. The next bill to come to the floor will be one that removes all doubt that it would become law." That's good because we've seen so many bills introduced and proposed. It's a bunch of nonsense. We need an actual bill to get done. Steve Mnuchin, the Treasury Secretary, says if Pelosi wants a compromise, there will be a deal. Steve Mnuchin is digging in. All right, let's quickly review some of the cliffs that we've hit, especially the most recent cliffs. So on July 31st, obviously we hit the cliff where unemployment pay of $600 per week ended. On September 30th, we hit a cliff where we had airline layoffs and more restaurant closures as they were waiting for more stimulus that never came. This is despite the fact that Nancy Pelosi promised the airlines, just give me another week, I will get you funding. The FEMA unemployment had already been exhausted by the end of September. This is what started in August and lasted for about 5 weeks. On October 25th, which is in less than 36 hours, the amazing stimulus coupon code down below for the courses does expire. And I am a little bit behind on emails for bundle coupons, but you can still email me at kevin@mekevin.com if you want a bundle coupon. December 31st. There are 2 cliffs on December 31st, and we haven't really talked much about this one right here. Look, we don't have an unemployment boost right now, but what we do have is the right for 1099 workers, self-employed workers, gig workers, sole proprietors, and S-corp owners to be able to claim unemployment if they are unemployed. That ends on December 31st. States will no longer pay unemployment pay to these individuals. That's very bad. In addition to that, the CDC's eviction moratorium expires December 31st. Evictions are already being filed, but sheriffs mostly are waiting until January to evict those unable to pay rent. Evictions for other reasons are still possible, or if you're not a covered person, you could still get evicted. So covered people are people who make less than $99,000 individually or $198,000 as a couple. And then you can sign the CDC's attestation of hardship form saying, look, you've tried to pay what you can, you've tried to do your best, you still owe the money, but you need to be protected from eviction, otherwise you're gonna go homeless. Okay, that expires December 31st. Yesterday, I did a thorough video on what this might mean for the housing market, which I encourage you to watch. Still very relevant today. Today's calculus, this is where we stand right now in terms of the actual broad negotiation. Pelosi wants $2.2 to $2.4 trillion. This right here, the reason it's a range is because it depends on how you do the math, which is really annoying. Mnuchin has dug in at $1.9 trillion. This is up slightly from where we were last week. Meadows suggests that we can bridge this gap if we get onshoring manufacturing tax credits to bridge the gap. Basically, if Republicans can get any kind of incentives for manufacturers to bring jobs back to America, maybe we can be okay with this bigger gap. And I think Meadows are bridging the gap. And I think Meadows is thinking, hey, if we get these benefits from the manufacturing community, Republicans will like that and they'll go along with a bigger package. $400 billion, no matter how we slice it, is coming from leftover money from the CARES Act. The post-election calculus. This is very interesting to me. So the post-election calculus, because this is what we might be up against. If Democrats sweep, they win the House, the Senate, and the presidency, then a $2.2 to $2.4 trillion demand may actually go up. They may go for a bigger package. They may go back to the original $3.4 trillion HEROES Act number 1. Because of this, it is possible that they'll actually dig in, Democrats will dig in even more, and they'll wait until January 20th to early Feb to do a larger package. If Democrats win the presidency and House but not the Senate, and Republicans therefore control the Senate, then we may be in the same negotiating position as we are now, because both Biden and Trump are seen as willing to sign a larger package. Senate Republicans are casting pessimism on the size right now, though, so that's going to prevent Democrats from being able to go up if Biden wins. If Republicans win the presidency, but Congress remains the same, split, well, then we'll be in the same situation as where we are now, which, again, is this orange section here. If Republicans win the presidency and sweep the House and Senate, then Democrats are likely to compromise now to ensure that they have any say at all, which would go away by January 21st otherwise. So that's sort of the status of negotiations. Now let's talk about the included items, like what's actually being included, and where are some more detailed differences. So on a national testing strategy, both sides have agreed to this. Committees are working on finalizing the language, but this looks good right now, so we'll put a little plus sign here. This looks good. State and local government funding. The Republicans have offered $300 billion per Mnuchin. However, Democrats want $117 billion more. Now, Donald Trump frequently says that Democrats just want to bail out poorly run blue states. However, Democrats are willing to sign language saying that the money is going to be strictly reserved for COVID-related expenses and funding. Republicans do not want to pre-fund the pot, so to speak, for COVID-related expenses. Republicans only want to provide money for expenses that have already been incurred. On unemployment pay, currently we have an agreement that unemployment pay shall begin September 6th or 13th. We have not heard clarity on exactly which day, but that unemployment pay would be retroactive to this date and continue through January 31st, and this would be for the boost. The boost would be either $400 to $600 per week, and this amount is being negotiated. The $600 per week amount is considered a poison pill for many Republicans. This might make it more difficult to get the 13 Republican votes that we need in the Republican-controlled Senate. On stimulus checks, we're still expecting the $1,200 to the same people as last time. So if you're on SSI or VA benefits, railroad retirement benefits, all of that, it's all the same income thresholds, $1,200 as last time. $500 would go to children, so child dependents, 17 and under, and all dependents would also receive $500 with this new plan. However, Republicans want to give children, so not all dependents, but the children of that, 17 and under, $1,000. So that's being negotiated. This is because Democrats want bigger tax credits instead. Now, Democrats also want $1,200 to go to those with ITIN numbers. This is the undocumented worker provision, and ITIN numbers give undocumented workers the ability to pay taxes on the income they receive. PPP, a new first round of PPP funding for those who have not yet received it, and a second round if, per Democrats, your revenue has fallen 25% quarter to quarter, comparing this year to last year. Streamlined forgiveness. Republicans want to see a 35% reduction in the earnings of a business. So much a stricter threshold here to be able to get PPP funding. New EIDL grants, the emergency injury disaster loans and grants. These were very confusing last time because it's like, okay, am I getting the grant or am I getting the loan? Did I get one or not the other? Like, what's going on? They're going to simplify that process and fund it with an additional $50 billion. It is unclear if we would be able to double dip if you've already received a grant. For housing, we've got $21 billion for homeowners, $50 billion for renters. This seems to be mostly in agreement, along with $120 billion for restaurants. There's also a provision in the Heroes 2.0 version that the Main Street lending program could be opened to small businesses with no minimum loan amount. The current minimum is $250,000, and these would be 7-year loans at very competitive interest rates. This would be very, very good. These are loans. They're not forgivable, but these would be very, very good and well needed, especially since right now Main Street loans aren't really being used. So the money's sitting there unused. Broadband, so this is getting internet to more rural spaces, $12 billion. 2.4 to Amtrak, $15 billion to the post office per Democrats. Republicans might want to bring that down to 10, but honestly, $5 billion at this point isn't going to make a difference. Certainly, it's not going to come in time before the election. Airports, $13.5 billion, FEMA, $1.3 billion. Childcare. So Democrats want $57 billion and Republicans want $25 billion. There still remains a gulf here on childcare funding. Democrats, for example, as part of this money, want to provide these tax credits, and you can pause to read those specifically. Republicans do not want to give these tax credits or benefits and would prefer just giving an extra $500 per child dependent. On testing, tracing, treatment, and a vaccine, we currently have $75 billion agreed on, and they are still finalizing the language, though we do have that national testing plan agreed on. Republicans want to provide $105 billion to schools. However, Democrats want to provide significantly more, $208 billion divided this way here. You could pause to see that, plus an additional 5 and another 11.9. So you've got somewhere around $224.9 billion, where Republicans want 105. Basically, Democrats are asking for twice as much money as schooling, which, by the way, Angela Merkel in Germany just issued a ton of additional funding for schooling to provide better ventilation and HEPA filters and ensure child safety at schools. Even though schools have lately been proven to be a low source of transmission for COVID, this seems ironic because it seems like, I mean, I've got a 5-year-old and 2-year-old, and they're not the most sanitary human beings. On liability protection, so you can pause this screen to really go detailed here, but I want to just reiterate this because I see this coming up in the market, in the comments. Really, let me make this really clear. And I'm not an attorney, but this is, this is my reading, all right? The only way you can win a COVID lawsuit is that you have to provide clear and convincing evidence that the defendant, aka the person or business that you're suing, was not making a reasonable effort in light of the circumstances to comply with government standards in effect at the time. So if you say you got COVID in March and there were no standards in effect, good luck. And in addition to the business just having to make a reasonable effort, the business would have to also, like, let's say they didn't make any reasonable effort. Well, on top of that, the business would also have to be proven to be grossly negligent or willful or cause or create willful misconduct that caused an actual exposure. Basically, with this kind of verbiage here, it's almost impossible to sue somebody for getting COVID. So this language is very, very, very strict. And the damages that you can incur are only the actual economic losses you had. So say you got COVID for 2 weeks and you get paid $1,000 a week, that's $2,000. That's the most you could get from a COVID lawsuit, which that's not even gonna cover legal fees. And then you can get punitive in case, you're like, well, they deserve to be punished. Basically, that business, they screwed up, they got me sick, they deserve to be punished. Well, then the courts, per this verbiage would say, okay, we'll double. And so you'll get $4,000. Again, you're not even going to pay an attorney a retainer for that amount. And so this is why Democrats are pushing for OSHA protections and consumer protections. Worker protections have already been agreed on. Good. We have had a budge on this. However, the consumer protections are still being negotiated. There you have the state of stimulus, where we stand now. And literally, at this very moment, all these things sound good, but we got nothing. I got to slam this better. Hold on. There, that sounded better. Or I could just take the paper off. Better. Because this weight sucks. Thank you so much for watching. If you've appreciated this video, consider sharing this with friends, family, or anybody you think would benefit from this information, even just the talk on liability protections or anything you think is helpful. Please consider sharing it. Really appreciate it. And folks, we'll see you in the next one. Get your life insurance, your 3 free stocks, and of course, the course is down below. Thanks so much, and until then.